So welcome to my review of the DJI Mavic Air. I ordered the Fly More combo, so I got a nice bag. I got 3 batteries in total. I got some extra props on there. I also got a 4-way battery charger, so you can charge 4 batteries at once, and a few other little bits and bobs as well. If you've not already, go and watch my unboxing video, which I did live. So I think the naming of this drone is inaccurate. I think it should be the Spark Pro. Anyway, on with the review. So we'll do a bag review now. So let's go out, open the bag, and inside the bag you get the Mavic in this smaller little bag, which is quite alright, quite nice. Quite a hard case, so it'll protect the Mavic inside there. And then this little thing on the side, this pocket, just folds away like that, so it becomes a bit nicer. And then inside here is everything else. So chargers, batteries, props, extra cables for the remote control, and extra little joysticks and things like that for the remote control as well. Yes, you may have missed in there that I don't have a remote control for it, and that's because it's faulty. Hence my drone flew away and went off on its own. Oh yeah. So this review is going to be all about what happened, how it happened, DJI support and what they did to help me out and that kind of stuff, as well as obviously you're going to see everything that the drone can do, because before it failed I was able to fly it. I was able to try some of the maneuvers out and things like that, and after it failed I spoke to DJI on the phone for probably about 2.5 hours. The first 2 people I spoke to actually really didn't have a clue about the Mavic Air, so I phoned them back again, and this time kind of got through to somebody who was far more helpful and knew about the product. So thank you, Michael at DJI Support, who talked me through a few things, and eventually after about an hour we deduced that the left hand stick, the potentiometer circuitry of that left hand stick was just dead. It just failed, which was unfortunate, but I guess I did get that first hour of use out of it. The great thing about this is that you can now actually control it with your smartphone. So let's get into the actual flight characteristics of Tyrian. Yes, you heard it right, my drone is called Tyrian. Smaller Mavic, smaller Game of Thrones Tyrian. That's how it came about. After naming him Tyrian, I then understood why all these other problems happened. If you've not watched Game of Thrones, you don't know who Tyrian is. Doesn't have the best of luck, does the guy? The name's sticking, but yeah, probably not the best choice of names in all fairness. But anyway, drone itself. Let's get started. First of all, flick out the backs. Flick round like that. Flick out the fronts. Take off this lovely little gimbal cover, which really is much easier than the other stupid navvy little things. I've put some battery labels on as well, just to confirm there's each battery, and that's it without its battery in, so it is quite kind of compact in there without a battery. Pop the battery in backwards, clips in, 2 things on the side there show up red if it's not clicked in properly. The feet down, and these feet are also the Wi-Fi antenna. On the back, this little flap pops down and reveals the USB Type-C port, where you can do any firmware updates and things like that. Also plug it into your PC to download any content that you've actually stored onto the internal storage, as well as the micro SD card slot. And that just clips in the back there. This is a pairing button. It's kind of like if you're trying to pair things up with your router, Wi-Fi router at home, you've got a WPS button, so you can pair things without needing the code and things like that. That's pretty much what that is. That'll flash and it'll tell you on your remote when to press that, how long to press it for, how many beeps. So say for example, the first time you pair your remote controller up with the drone, it's going to say press that until you hear it beep once. And then you press the button on the remote and then they pair up, and that's you done. If you want to use it for Wi-Fi, basically you scan in the QR code on the side, and then it'll say press and hold that until you hear it beep twice, which is about 6 or 7 seconds. It goes beep beep, and then that allows you to pair up and everything's ready to fly Wi-Fi mode like that as well. My only thing I would say is that the first time you get it out of the box, I had to do a firmware update of the drone and a firmware update of the remote control. all that kind of process took about 15%, 20% out of the battery. It probably took about 20 minutes to do both firmware updates on the drone and the remote control. And then obviously you just got to check everything else, go through the registration process as well. Right then, so let's get into the drone itself. It feels really nice. It's about 3/4 of the size of the Mavic Pro. It feels really good quality. You know, the design flares in it and things like that are all nice. The arms feel good quality. The motors and the way that the props fit on there, good quality. Very, very impressed with the gimbal, the way that it kind of holds itself. I didn't see any of the judder that I get on my Mavic Pro from this. Hats off to DJI for sorting that problem out. Sensors wise, I was very happy with the way the sensors worked. So the obstacle avoidance system, if you set off right in front of something, it won't move around, it'll just go, no, there's something there. If, however, this obstacle is kind of there and you send the drone back maybe 10 feet and then go around, it'll actually then move around it. Will avoid it. Fully tested, and that worked flawlessly. Put up a sort of an embankment like that, and it did actually go up the embankment, followed it for the same sort of distance all the time, went up, no problem at all. So yeah, when it's coming down to land, I've noticed on a couple of occasions where it actually says unsuitable surface to land on. So how did we get on with our first flight then? Well, the first flight, when the remote control was working fine, was brilliant. You know, took off, did a few little tests, make sure it was all working. I did actually check that all the functions on the remote control work fine, and they did. Very happy with everything. So then I set off to see how far I could get. And basically, well, that's where it kind of started to go a little bit wrong. I lost signal at around about 2,000 feet, 1/6 of a kilometre. Not even 1 kilometre, not 2 kilometres like the range is supposed to be. So not even 3/4 of a kilometre, it ran out. That was it. So I'm thinking, okay, let's bring it back. Let's just reset and then go up and try it again, you know, for whatever interference might be there or something like that. So that's exactly what I did. Came back, landed, checked everything over, put a brand new battery in as well. So the second flight, only just over 1/2 kilometre. It was saying at the top of the screen that it was using 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi band, which is what it seemed to use with the remote. When I used it with my phone, it was using the 2.4 gigahertz band, and that range was only about 100 feet. So using it off my phone to control it over Wi-Fi, I got about 100 feet. Using the DJI controller for the Mavic Air, I got 2,000 feet. So I'm thinking that remote controller was just a dud. So I'm just going to kind of consider that when I get a new one, hopefully my range will be the 2 kilometers as advertised. So we did a few of the tests. Like I say, one of the tests was sport mode as well. Fortunately, the joysticks and everything were still working at that stage. So we did sport mode, came back, and I did 2 runs because at one point it did say high wind velocity, and it got up to 43 miles an hour and 33 miles an hour. So there's obviously a bit of wind in the middle. The Jedi moves were really easy. I landed it. You know, once you've landed it, if you just stay in front of the drone, even though the motors are shut off, and obviously give it that command, it'll recognize you again, and then you can lift up and take off, and it takes off under gesture control, Jedi mode. It was limited to height. I couldn't get it to more than about 6 feet off the ground. However, everything else, you know, worked fine on there. And then you've got all sorts of controls, more or less the same as the remote control then. All the modes you can put in, so you can still do your spiral mode, your droney, all that kind of stuff. You have an option to put on virtual joysticks on the screen, so you can see you know, where the joysticks would be and control it that way. You can also set the gimbal pitch to be the same as the way you hold in your phone. So let's get to the real story here. Why did the drone fly off? Well, like I say, the controller had a fault with it. So later diagnosed that the fault was the left hand stick, which controls rotation left and right, and basically going up, going down. I didn't really know that until it was up in the air, probably about 100 feet, and started to spiral. I still had connection, my phone was still connected, everything was still going on. Absolutely, totally random flight. Fly forward, left a bit, right a bit, move up a bit, and there's a bird of prey circling around it, and I started to panic. I am still on the remotes trying to press return to home, move the remote around and stuff like that, and none of it's working. And I just can't understand, at the time I didn't know it was faulty. I was thinking, I've never had this before. What do you do? As the bird of prey started to get closer, I managed to kind of have a bit of thought, and I thought, you know what, I've got the DJI Care Pack. I am going to have two choices here. The bird of prey gets it, and it even might fly off with it. I might damage a bird of prey. I would probably get into a lot of trouble about that one. And the third one is I'll let it fall to the ground and smash. I'll pick it up, get the pieces, put them in a box, send it back to DJI. So it was that time I did it. I did something that I've never done before, didn't know you could do. If you've kind of listening to this now, you probably think, no, never do it. But from what I can say, it actually performed brilliantly, and that was switch off your remote control. So now let's talk about the actual image quality. What you're looking at right now is the Mavic Pro's video. It's a 4K image, but it's just standard profile settings. And what you're looking at now is the Mavic Air. Same settings, just absolutely standard, straight out the camera. Flew over at the same time, so you know it's the same conditions. Obviously the same details are shown. This again is the Mavic Pro right now. It's showing like less color saturation, less detail, sort of a lighter image. And the Mavic Air we're looking at right now, there's more detail in the color, so we're far better lights and darks as well, and color reproduction in there. So for me, Mavic Air hands down wins the color test. Now as far as pictures and the picture settings that you can go through, obviously got panoramas, 360 panoramas, 3x3 panoramas, stills pictures, and using the app on the phone you can flick around the stills panoramas, so you can make little tiny planets or spin them out the other way. And these are just the picture profiles. Obviously there are different video profiles and stuff like that again, but I think that overall the quality is good. That's got sort of prop washes in it because it was looking up. So this clip I just wanted to see whether it moved around a lot, if you could use it for a time lapse. So as you can see, there's a tiny little bit of movement, but over 20 minutes I think that's absolutely brilliant, really. Shows how well it can actually hold its own. So to set what sort of photo you want, go into the photo button, click on photo where it's a single shot. Then you can choose some things like HDR, multiple pictures, different bracketed pictures, time shot or a pano, which is your sphere 180 vertical or horizontal. On any of the panos, obviously it needs to remain quite stable. So if there's loads of people moving around or it's windy, it might not work so well. So the video quick shots are really good too. Not only do they start recording for you as soon as you activate the shot, but basically just choose your shot, whether it's the helix or the orbit or the rocket or the drone or whatever. Tap the screen to make sure it sees you. It gives you a bit of overview what it's going to do. Basically then it gives you a countdown to say, get ready, I'm going to do this now, and then it'll set off. So that's everything in one. You're always going to make sure it's going to be recorded. You've always given the opportunity to make sure that you framed your shot and everything's ready to go, and then the drone just takes care of the rest on its own. It's brilliant. Now another thing to draw your attention to is if you do set out without an SD card, or maybe your SD card gets full or corrupt and you want to use the internal memory card or the internal 8 gig, just remember that it's not really going to last as much as maybe the battery that you're going to be using lasts. So what you'll be doing, you find your recording, you'll see this message on the screen, no SD card inserted, and then you find that the 8 gigs actually used up. What it's going to do then is it's going to flip over and start to use the storage on your phone, which is pretty good considering at this stage as well I'm just using it over Wi-Fi mode. But you can see now the photo button and the record button's got a picture of a mobile in it as well. You do lose some options, like on the photo you can only take photos, and video it'll only do the streaming rate, which is 720p. So just bear that in mind as well. But I mean, it's a good backup feature if the SD card and the 8 gig runs out, it uses your phone. So the specs of this little tiny camera drone are fantastic. A 12 megapixel stills camera. Yes, it's a small CMOS sensor, but it doesn't half pack a lot of punch in there for the image it produces. 4K 30 frames a second, or you can go slow-mo up to 120 frames a second. However, it's just HD. Still more than enough quality for most people these days. Battery times is where I'm kind of struggling a little bit. Given the time you've got to land and the emergency kind of like battery warning mode and all that kind of stuff, you're probably more realistically talking around about 13 to 15 minutes at the most, not 21 minutes. And then you've got this amazing avoidance system that we're looking at now, where you basically can fly it at something and it'll fly its way around it. So that makes sure that the APAS just kind of kicks in, make sure it's not going to collide with everything. So yes, there's big openings in what we're looking at the moment, but it just flies straight through them. It sees something, so it basically moves its little self left or right, up or down, and then just flies straight through. Very portable drone. Pop it in your pocket, use your phone to control it. Even the batteries are small as well. You can just pop those in your back pocket, take a couple with you, and you're just ready to shoot for the rest of the day then. I just can't fault this thing whatsoever. It's just fantastic. I think if you are looking for a drone, even if you're doing semi-professional work, I still think this is going to cut it at the end of the day for the most things you're going to do. So I just wanted to say thank you very much for watching my video. It's a very long one, but I need to get everything in. I just need to explain the story. I need to explain why. I need to explain that, you know, DJI support came through. Yes, I had a product failure. Everyone gets something that fails within the first few days. It's just the fact that everything's so delicately made these days and all that kind of gubbins. So it's unfortunate. It happened. DJI support sorted me out. No problem with that at all. And I can still use it with my smartphone. So the only thing I can't do right now is fly more than 100 feet away. So from me and Tyrion, thanks for watching my video. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Any questions or comments, please do feel free to leave them in the video description down below. So have fun flying. Until the next time, take care now. Bye.